What up, Coordination? It is that time of the year again. Gitcoin Grants Round 15 is upon us. And on this episode, I've got Leon Erichsen, who is an associate PM on Gitcoin Passport, Brent Martin, senior PM at Moonshot Collective, one of the GitcoinDAO work streams, Annika Lewis, Workstream Lead for public goods funding, also one of the work streams of GitcoinDAO. And they are here to talk about Gitcoin Grants Round 15, which starts on September 7th and goes through September 22nd. Sounds like there's $3 million-ish. And you can contribute at gitcoin.co/grants and get your contributions matched. So as a reminder, I am disaffiliated from GitcoinDAO. I am hosting the episode and just asking questions, and I'm learning about this stuff in many cases at the same time that you are all learning about it. So it's been fun to see the evolution of GitcoinDAO over the years, and Gitcoin Grants Round 15 is the 15th evolution of the quadratic funding protocol that is run by Gitcoin, now GitcoinDAO. So the first voice that you'll hear after this bumper is myself, followed by Annika Lewis, the Workstream Lead for public goods funding. And this episode goes really deep on Sybil Resistance, Gitcoin grants, quadratic funding, and how the project managers, PMs at GitcoinDAO are thinking about evolving it forward. So I hope you enjoy this episode about Gitcoin grants and its 15th round. Enjoy.
Immutable X is the layer 2 platform for crypto gaming. Immutable offers massive scalability with up to 9,000 transactions per second and instant transaction confirmation. No more gas fees, no more waiting around for your transaction to clear. Immutable's zero knowledge rollup finally unlocks the world of crypto gaming. Immutable X is the only gas-free NFT minting platform with over 26 million NFTs minted, all with zero gas fees. With the power of Immutable, gaming developers don't also need to become smart contract developers. They just need to plug in to Immutable's API and instantly start unlocking the full potential of crypto assets inside of games. This is why world-class companies and projects have decided to deploy on Immutable X, like GameStop, Ember Sword, Planet Quest, Illuvium, TikTok, and many more behind the scenes. So start building your game on Immutable X today at Immutable. The Opera crypto browser is the world's first web browser built for the crypto community. With Web3 support and a non-custodial wallet, Opera lets you access DeFi apps quickly and easily. The Opera wallet has buy, sell, and swap features, and of course lets you view your beautiful NFTs, but the browser still lets you use any crypto wallet extension you prefer, giving you the choice and flexibility for the Web3 world. Opera lets you view and manage all of your assets across all the blockchains all at once, and offers seamless multi-chain support between Ethereum, Bitcoin, Polygon, Binance Chain, and other EVMs and layer 2s. But Opera goes even deeper than that. Opera has a built-in homepage for crypto natives with the Opera Crypto Corner, with price charts, news feeds, NFT updates to make sure you are always on top of your game. And it even has Discord and Telegram integrated natively into the browser. That's crazy. Opera is truly building the battle station for the crypto world. Check out Opera both on mobile with Android and iOS apps and on desktop too.
How's it going, everyone?
Hey, GM.
Hello.
GM. All right, we are here to talk about Grants Round 15, which is the Gitcoin Grants Round that is starting this week. So, Annika, you want to give us a little history of Gitcoin grants and tell us about Grants Round 15?
Yeah, absolutely. For anyone who isn't familiar with Gitcoin grants has been running for a few years now. And we are a group that uses quadratic funding to distribute funds to all sorts of projects, both within Web3 and beyond. We started off really with a focus on the Ethereum ecosystem and open source software there, and have expanded well beyond that in the last couple of years. We've delivered over 50 million in funds towards open source and Web3 development to all sorts of early stage projects. And as Kevin mentioned, this is Grants Round 15. So this is the 15th time we're running this round. We run them every quarter, so this is the September edition for 2022, and we're super excited to kick off the round.
Beautiful. I think this episode will air either Tuesday the 6th or Thursday the 8th, and I think the round starts on the 7th. Is that right?
That's right. The round starts on September 7th, specifically at 3 o'clock UTC is when it will be active, and the round runs for just over 2 weeks, so until September 22nd.
Great. And how much money is allocated in this Gitcoin grants round?
Yeah, so far we've got almost $3 million committed across 17 different rounds. So I'll talk for a minute about just the round structure and how things are going to look for Grants Round 15. So we have quadratic funding pools, which if you're not familiar with quadratic funding and how it works, go to WTFisQF.com and check out the nifty calculator there. But sort of the TLDR on quadratic funding is that it helps with the preferences of the many over the few. So you effectively are able to vote with your dollars, vote with your DAI, and decide how you want this almost $3 million distributed across all of the grantees in the different quadratic funding rounds. So within Grants Round 15, we've got 17 different rounds, so 17 quadratic funding matching pools that will be distributed to the grantees on the platform. We've got the main round, which we've got where all grants on the platform with an Ethereum payout address that qualify are eligible for those funds. We've got our ecosystem rounds, which are for specific groups in Web3 that are building out their own communities and want to have a quadratic funding pool dedicated to their specific ecosystem. And then we have the cause rounds, which are something we introduced in Grants Round 12 that help support many types of social causes, both on-chain and off-chain. You can check out all of them on our blog. We'll have a blog coming out this weekend at gitcoin.co/blog that will give the details on all of these rounds. But a few to call out for Grants Round 15. First off, we've got the crypto advocacy round coming back. That's going to be a $300,000 round this time. I know with everything that's gone on this summer in terms of what you've seen in the news from a regulatory perspective, there's a lot of buzz around advocacy for crypto with the Tornado Cash situation and all sorts of other conversations bubbling up. So we're really excited to be supporting those who are doing work in the advocacy space for crypto. We've also got a new round around decentralized science. This one's really cool because most of the rounds that have been stood up so far in Gitcoin Grants have been sort of DAO-led or driven by the internal team, whereas this is one where it was totally decentralized. Many different folks from all across the ecosystem wanted to run around for decentralized science, and this was really totally bottoms up and not necessarily Gitcoin driven. So really awesome to see this one come together. And those are just a couple of the themes that you'll see if you read the blog post and see what types of rounds we've got going on. So yeah, that's kind of the structure for Grants Round 15 and lots to come.
Great. So if I'm interested in posting a grant or funding a grant, how can I do that? What's the URL?
Yes, go to gitcoin.co/grants. You can see right there on the front page if you're interested in posting a grant, definitely get that in sooner rather than later so that we can get you approved before the round starts. If you're interested in contributing to grants as an individual, that's also the right place. And so, yeah, gitcoin.co/grants is the best place to get started, browse through grants, and create a grant yourself if you'd like to.
Thanks, Annika. What is there anything in Grants Round 15 that is moving towards Grants 2.0? I know that GitcoinDAO is moving towards a more protocol-based vision, and I'm curious whether there's any sort of like decoupling of the monolithic architecture and moving towards Grants 2.0.
Yes, there certainly is. And if you listen to this GreenPilled episode for either Grants Round 14 or Grants Round 13, you would have heard us talk about Grants 2.0 and the vision that the DAO is working towards there. But the TLDR on that is that Gitcoin Grants for the last few years has been running on a centralized platform where there are only, a handful of people who can, stand up rounds and kind of all of it has to go through Gitcoin. We are in the process of moving towards being a full protocol DAO and building a permissionless protocol that anyone can use to stand up their grants round, whether it's using quadratic funding or other mechanisms, and really making it easy for anyone to use, fork, and play around with as they please. So as we move towards a Grants 2.0 world, we within the Gitcoin Grants program are thinking about how to make the program more reflective of that world and start to evolve into a more decentralized manner, even while we're still working on the centralized technology. So one thing we're doing this round is what's called decoupling, which effectively means for grantees that even if you don't meet the platform rules for being a grantee on the platform, we've got some rules around you can't have a token and you can't have raised venture funding. Now we're giving autonomy to the ecosystem and cause rounds to make whatever rules they see fit. And so the grant doesn't necessarily need to qualify for the main round in order to be eligible for these other rounds. So we're really excited about this and testing this out and playing around with kind of different rules-based systems in order to see what things will look like in a Grants 2.0 world and make things a lot more flexible for funders and grantees alike.
Great. Thanks, Annika. As listeners may know, I've disaffiliated from GitcoinDAO, although was involved in the very early days. And so I'm learning a lot of this stuff for the first time here, along with the listeners. And it's a lot of fun to see Gitcoin go from a company, from a DAO. But it's kind of weird. This is one of the first rounds that I'm seeing it from the outside. So very cool. I know one of the new things this time around is Gitcoin Passport and its evolution. So, what is Gitcoin Passport? Why does it matter? And how is it evolving in round 15? I guess maybe Leon will lead with you.
Yeah, sure. So thanks for having us here, Kevin. Glad to be here with you all. Yeah, the Gitcoin Passport is basically the identity verification method that we use for the donors or the voters in the grants program. So, as you may know, due to the democratic nature of the quadratic funding program, we might be able to game the system by like setting up multiple Ethereum wallets and like donating smaller amounts from all these accounts instead of donating like the same amount from one actual account. So basically what we're trying to do with the passport is verifying that each donor or voter is uniquely participating in the round. To do that, you as a like grants round participant go to passport.gitcoin.co, and there you will set up your passport. You can sign in to your passport with your Ethereum mainnet account, and then we have like a bunch of different basically identity verification providers inside Passport, ranging from Web2 platforms that you might use or know, like Twitter, Google, GitHub, and Facebook, to like more Web3 native applications or platforms like ENS or like Ethereum or your Lens profile or being a Gnosis Safe signer. And then we actually also this round for the first time have some Gitcoin Grants native data. So one way to verify that you're a human is by proving to us that you have contributed to Gitcoin Grants in previous rounds, or that you have received contributions in Gitcoin Grants in previous rounds. So if you have contributed or like been active in the Gitcoin Grants ecosystem in the past, make sure to like verify the Gitcoin Grants part of the passport as well. But basically, once you've kind of collected everything that you can collect there, there are like 19 different options in total. Last round it was just 8. You go back to your Gitcoin profile. So you find your Gitcoin profile basically just by going to gitcoin.co/your Gitcoin or GitHub username, and then add /trust. And there you can then submit your passport, and we'll basically record the verification methods you have added to your passport on passport.gitcoin.co, and based on what you submit, we'll assign your contributions in the program a matching weight. So these weights are dedicated to grants round 15 and range from 50 to 150%. So this time around, because like, you know, we know that not every contributor is like very familiar with the passport, we kind of give every user by default some trust, and with that 50% matching weight. But through the passport you can actually multiply that by 3 to up to 150% matching weight. And at the same time, just FYI, we have the fraud detection and defense team of GitcoinDAO working in full swing to identify other like attackers who try to game the system at the same time. I know this is a high level overview. I'd love to dig into some more details around the data points you can verify how the scoring works. I'm not sure. What do you think? Okay.
Totally. Well, I guess, first things first, just always want to orient this around the listeners. Where can they go play with Passport?
On passport.gitcoin.co.
Cool.
So that's a place where you create your file basically. You'll basically create a passport based on your Ethereum account on the so-called Ceramic network, which is a open data storage network. And then you can verify these different options there. We're actually still working in full swing, like adding all of the like methods that I have just mentioned, but all fingers crossed will be done by Tuesday. But yeah.
I think one thing I'd love to just call out here on Passport is Passport launched just last round in Grants Round 14. And I remember personally, thinking about the round as a whole, Passport and its adoption was one of the things I was most blown away by. I think we had 44,000 contributors in Grants Round 14. and 17,000 passports, which is close to 30% of people just standing one up, even though it wasn't required. I think there were, correct me if I'm wrong, guys, but like 50,000 stamps, which is more than one stamp per contributor. Right. So just awesome to see the organic adoption of Passport in its first round. And I'm excited with all the improvements this round to see how much higher we can get that.
Yeah, same here. And at the same time, we're working like with a couple of like very much reputable like Web3 projects on utilizing Passport in their apps as well to verify either like the unique humanity of their participants or like verifying certain attributes about their members. So I think the number of Passport holders throughout the Web3 ecosystem will likely rapidly grow in the next couple of months with the grants rounds that we are operating, but also with the other applications that kind of help drive this network effect.
I just want to make sure that we drill down on this because it may be obvious to people who've been involved in Gitcoin and not be obvious to the median listener. Why Passport? Why do we have to verify all these different stamps? There must be some reason why identity is important for this.
Right. So if we didn't verify that someone is uniquely participating in the program at all, right, you could basically set up a bunch of accounts like Ethereum accounts or Gitcoin accounts and then donate to the causes that you care about. And due to the democratic nature of quadratic funding, it would basically be like buying votes, buying multiple voices or accounts. So basically you would get more impact on where the matching funding will be steered towards if you were creating multiple accounts. And we want to avoid that. If you're listening to this, don't try. Because if you don't have a Passport, the weight on your contributions will be like comparably low, and at the same time we have this team that's still like kind of actively seeking out sketchy activity on the platform. But yeah, we could obviously do something simple, and like pick out one particular decentralized identity provider, say like Bright ID or like only Proof Humanity, or we could, I don't know, maybe even do like KYCs with like national passports. But with the Passport and how we design like the Gitcoin Passport, we basically have a range of options that you can choose from. And if you're like someone who, say, doesn't have a Bright ID account, you can still verify or prove to us that you're a unique human by, for example, verifying proof of humanity, your past Gitcoin grants activity, and that you have an active Twitter account. So basically leave people the choice how they want to verify that they are a human, and don't really, remove flexibility by like focusing on one particular identity provider out from the ecosystem.
Cool. So it sounds like there's a bunch of money at risk, especially when people can make up new identities. And so increasing the cost to create new identities for the people who would forge them is kind of the goal. And increasing the understanding that people are unique humans is what keeps the round legitimacy of the funds legit. Is that a good summary?
Yeah, absolutely. Basically want to make it very hard for people to set up multiple accounts and with that ballots, right? Like imagine you could like submit 20 ballots in a federal election, right? It would be kind of weird.
Yeah.
So
not just weird, but probably illegal and profoundly unethical.
COINSHIFT is a leading treasury management and infrastructure platform for DAOs and crypto businesses who need to manage their treasury operations. Every crypto org needs to manage their treasury, and COINSHIFT offers a simple, flexible, and efficient multi-chain treasury management platform built on top of the extremely secure Gnosis Safe. With COINSHIFT, your organization can go from primitive single-chain treasuries to expressive, flexible, multi-chain features such as global user management, global contracts, proposal management, and many other features that can be shared across an entire organization. COINSHIFT layers on powerful treasury management tools on top of the proven security of Gnosis Safe, allowing users to save time and reduce operational burdens and gas costs. COINSHIFT even has data tools like account reporting across the 7 chains on which it operates. Used by industry powerhouses such as Uniswap Grants, Balancer, Consensus, and Messari, COINSHIFT is speeding up the coordination and efficiency of the organizations that use it. In DeFi, you have to keep up with the frontier, and COINSHIFT makes that easy. So sign up at coinshift.xyz/bankless. Refi summer has arrived, and CELO is here for it. CELO is the layer 1 blockchain for the regenerative finance movement. It's fast, planet positive, and built for the real world. CELO has committed towards producing a sustainable future from the very beginning, and is the world's first carbon-negative, EVM-compatible layer 1 blockchain. CELO has become much more than a technology, a currency, a community, or even just a layer 1. CELO is a movement to create conditions of prosperity for everyone. You can soon engage with all of this via green asset Uniswap pools on CELO, benefiting reforestation and other regenerative products through the Toucan protocol, Moss, and more. Refi is also about the health of communities, and Resource Network is creating bankless infrastructure for circular trade and mutual credit networks to benefit small businesses and local economies, all on CELO. Follow along on Twitter to learn more about how CELO is accelerating Refi Summer for a positive impact on people, communities, and the planet. If you're attending ECC, visit the CELO Saloon to learn about what's happening on the front lines of Refi from industry experts.
I would love to dive in more on Passport. Season 2 of the GreenPilled podcast is all about digital identity and reputation and privacy aware, sovereign reputation, especially. And so I'm wondering if we could just pinch and zoom on Gitcoin Passport. What else is there to say? What new stamps will be in the Passport this time around? What are you excited about? What is the future of identity, and how does Passport go into that? Let's maybe put all those questions in a pot and stir them.
Yeah, I mean, one particular new stamp or like identity provider that we've added, it's a quite interesting one that was also developed inside GitcoinDAO, namely from Brent, who is also here with us. We call it like identity staking or GTC staking. And I know maybe, Brent, you want to talk about how getting these stamps into your passport will work?
Yeah, I'd love to. And I like the way Leon set that up too. I think one of the principles or guiding things that we talked about in when we were launching Passport for GR14 was how it's more important to go wide with your stamps to create that more costly, that more expensive way of creating one's identity than to go deep on one. And the current systems that we saw across identification was that people would use one system, whether that's, maybe that's Bright ID or maybe that's like just OAuth and some Web 2 sort of thing. They would use one system to identify themselves, but Passport started to break away from that and go wide. And so that's why one of the things we're excited about is the fact that like we're multiplying the number of stamps or the identity signals that you can build on your profile. One of the big ones that we've been talking about right now is identity staking. This is what I've been working on with the team at Moonshot Collective over the last, the last iteration since the last grants round. And the way identity staking works is that you can stake on your identity or your passport or stake on other people's identity in order to increase your trust bonus score or to increase someone else's trust bonus score. And I kind of differentiate those two because there's a lot of really interesting things that can happen when you start to stake on other people to benefit them and their passport, and starting to build like this network of trust that we could do. I like to call this like a new product, but actually, I'm sorry. I don't like to call it a new product. I'd rather call it like a new experiment, because what we're doing with this identity staking is we're also learning a lot about how this helps increase the trust bonus score of Passport and how it can be used across other ecosystems. So when I look at Passport, I think about this being an identity primitive that we're shipping to the Web3 ecosystem as a whole. It happens that Grants is using it and is the first major adopter of it and is, front running the building of it. But like it ultimately is a Web3 primitive to me. And it's a major building block that can help accelerate this entire industry. So I'm really excited to see other people using it as to verify passports for whatever their needs are, right? And for us to continue the amount of identity staking or identity things. But for identity staking specifically, it's kind of that, I think what was really important to us is that we start creating this experimentation loop of being able to experiment with staking on someone's identity and then learning from it through the data that we collect in these rounds of people using it. Like, how interested are they in staking on themselves to increase their trust bonus score? Are they more interested in staking on someone else to increase their trust bonus score? Like, what things about this are interesting to people? And as we learn from those experiments, we can change the course or like the things that we ship in order to build better primitives from this. And so I like to call it an experiment rather than a product because of the nature of it being changing its form in between as we grow and evolve it. And that's specifically on identity staking. That's just one stamp, again, of many on the Passport. But I think it's one stamp that starts to unlock some really interesting things. Owaki, you talked about something even earlier, or you mentioned something earlier that is something that we're thinking about when we're thinking about identity staking, which is basically as a launching point, one of the paths. I have about 4 paths, and we could go into that if we wanted to later, but of exploration that identity staking is starting to tap into. And one of those paths is to start creating some form of cost of forgery. So this is almost could be the genesis point to thinking about passports and profiles and what the cost of forgery is for them and measuring them that way. So like when we talk about identity staking, it's really the starting point of a lot of exploration and research that's really exciting for us.
Cool. Anything else to say about Passport or the future of digital identity? I know that we're going deep on that this episode or this season of GreenPilled.
I mean, it's a turn I like to take, but I'll this at the end of the day, this podcast or this episode is about GR15, so I want to make sure that I don't just like go down a rabbit hole with you, Kevin, on the future of decentralized identity.
Maybe we could constrain it to Sybil Resistance then, since that's what really matters to Gitcoin Grants.
Yeah, I mean, in total, we have like went from these like 80 identity providers in the last round, where Brent was pretty much helping put the Passport app together, to like now like 19 identity providers, including like 61 data points you might be able to verify. So maybe to like contextualize that, like one example was in the last round, you would have verified that you have a Twitter account, and that's it. You know, we basically check, okay, you authenticate yourself through Twitter. Do we get like a positive response from Twitter that this account exists? And if yes, we would have issued you a stamp to your passport, or stamped your passport saying, okay, this passport is associated with a legit Twitter account. This time around, we'll also check, okay, does this account have made like more than 10 tweets or posts? So if you are an active Twitter user, we'll basically also give you a stamp, hey, okay, you have also more than 10 tweets or posts, or like, do you have how many followers do you have? So if you have more than 100 followers, you'll get a stamp, this user has more than 100 followers. And if you have more than 500, well, you'll also get the stamp for having more than 500 followers, and more than 1,000 and more than 5,000. So this way we can kind of assess. Obviously, it's not like too easy to get like 5,000 followers on Twitter, right? That we basically saw some very good evidence from Twitter, for example, on like, hey, this passport here is associated with a Twitter account with 5,000 followers. So basically, we have like added a range of data points like this that you'll see once like all the final updates for the release for GR15 are pushed. And this way, kind of, we, you know, basically the task that we set ourselves was is how can we gather evidence that might indicate that somebody is a, you know, actual human, and then at the same time aggregating that and kind of adding some identifying hashes and cryptography to these stamps in the passports, so we can see, okay, this seems to be a very active human and it's uniquely participating in this grants round. And if you are a uniquely participating human, you can basically boost your contributions to the grants program by 150%. So basically increasing the matching that the projects receive from the matching fund.
Great. Well, it seems like TLDR Passport continues to evolve, and Sybil Resistance is existential to quadratic funding, and so that's the Lego for that. But I'm curious, as Grants 2.0 rolls out, is this helping build momentum on the protocols within GitcoinDAO? Is Passport a kind of like a preview or a canary in the coal mine for Grants 2? Anything else to say about the Grants 2 protocols?
Well, I'll let somebody else speak on the rest of the grants true protocols, but I have some thoughts on like what it looks like for us to build protocols in general. With GR14, some of the people that may know or not, like I was the main product manager on getting Passport's its alpha state brought in, which I worked with Leon on. That was really exciting to be able to work together on those. After we launched Passport, I went back to Moonshot Collective to work on things that are related to Passport and identity, but not as like the core protocol team that is Passport. And Leon started to run with that team. So essentially we have two different teams that are building on this protocol. I think that what's exciting about that to me is that the vision of these protocols is that there is not one person or one team that is building these protocols, that they're open source, they're given by the community, there's multiple teams, there's multiple people that are working on this. So what we're proving in this model is that, hey, Brent can run off with Moonshot Collective and some builders and build like these new exciting pieces of prototype stuff that we're building on top of the Passport. At the same time, Leon can be working on expanding the stamps on a completely different team, right? And like expanding the robustness of the protocol itself. And so there's something really exciting to see those splits happen and to see other teams express interest in getting involved in Passport protocol as well. And like what kind of ecosystem that can create when there's, 1 or 10 or 100 teams, right? Building things on a protocol.
Yeah, I'll add to that, Brent. I think it's been just really interesting to see how the DAO has started to sort of very gradually shift in terms of how it works and thinking, in a protocol's first way. I think Passport has been, the first protocol we've really launched. I know that a lot of the grants to work with Round Explorer, Round Manager, and all of the other pieces are still kind of being worked on. But as we start to have conversations about DevRel and what it might look like and, other kind of protocol native ways of working, I think Passport, given that it's live and has, improvements coming in already in the second round that it's here, is just kind of, paving the way in terms of how we think about, how we work and organize people in a DAO that is moving effectively from being kind of a social and impact DAO to more of a protocol focused DAO. So I think to me, it's just a really interesting indicator and experiment as to how we work and build these systems together.
Maybe just one thing to add is, I think I mentioned between the lines previously, but basically what we mean with protocol is that as you create a Passport and add these different stamps to it, all this doesn't live in like a Django app on the Gitcoin side or like some proprietary database that we control, but it lives on this like open composable data network called Ceramic. You can find out more about it at ceramic.network, I think. And it basically allows us to like just build an interface for these passports, which are basically just data structures that store these verifiable credentials on the Ceramic network and interface with them for our purposes. So we make the stamps or data points visible that we care about in our grants program. But now if you're an application developer and you also need to verify Sybil Resistance, whether that's like for spinning up your own quadratic funding program through Grants 2.0 that we're also working on, or you have an independent voting app going already and you want to verify whether someone is a unique human or a member of your community, you can basically add data to these same passports and read data from these same passports and utilize that to verify the identity of your participants. So the kind of architectural or technological innovation is really that we don't really control that data of these identities, but people really are pretty much in control of like what they add to it, what they might remove from it, and who they want to share it with.
Yeah, that's a really good point, Leon. And that, to me, that's what makes it a true Web3 protocol. Is that like we've moved away from like the concept of like one trusted source or one trusted source owning all of the data and storing it all in one place for everyone else to use. Like it's been decentralized over this network. It's good to point that out too, Leon. It's you can tell where we are in Web3 because as a lot of people engage with this, we still have this idea that this kind of data that works with this is about identity, is about one centralized source collecting all this identity, because that's what we're used to seeing, right? All around us. But so when a lot of new people come to Passport, they kind of roll with that assumptions. So I've had some conversations on Twitter already with people that just assume that this process of going through all these stamps is storing all of these stamps to like some like honeypot of data that Gitcoin has or something. The truth of the matter is we don't have any of that. All that happens is a verified credential is created to attest the truth of somebody's sign in or whatever that is. It's encrypted, so we can't even understand. Like I couldn't look at someone's passport and say this is their Twitter handle. Like it's just an encrypted piece of data that shows that it is a unique Twitter handle, and all of that's stored on the network. So we own none of the data at all, and never will, and that's by design. And so it's funny whenever, you get on Twitter, I think we just still have this idea, this conception from being so close to Web 2 concepts that like all of these things are going to a honeypot somewhere that someone can access. And that's just not the case. And that's what makes this Web 3 to me.
Yeah. Well, speaking of unlearning Web 2, I'll just mention that I am now disaffiliated from Gitcoin. The company that I started, which was called Gitcoin Holdings, is now rebranding to, we think, Web3 Event Co. Still TBD on the name. And it's been fun to be a contributor from the edges and to be mostly disaffiliated at this point, on our way to being fully disaffiliated, and just to see the project continue to grow and thrive. And that's another Web3 paradigm that I think didn't really exist in Web 2, is being friendly and seeing it evolve and decentralize past you. So really, really grateful to you all for joining and talking about Gitcoin Grants Round 15 and the investments that are being made in a protocol-based future for Gitcoin. Any final thoughts? Maybe we could end on a round TLDR, round stats, and how to get involved.
Yeah, absolutely. So as a reminder, Grants Round 15 is coming up starting on September 7th, ending on September 22nd. We've got almost $3 million in matching funds to distribute across all of the different quadratic funding pools. If you're interested in getting involved either as a grantee or in checking out grants to donate to, check out gitcoin.co/grants, and you'll be able to see all of the details and get involved. Find us on Twitter @Gitcoin. Hit us up, join the Discord, and yeah, we're excited for the round.
Great. Anything I didn't ask that any of you want to say?
All good from my end.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yeah, just super excited about GR15 and the future of identity.
All right. Well, thanks so much for joining. Public goods are good, and see you during Grants Round 15.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. Have a good one.
GM.